You are listening to The Briefing, first broadcast on the 8th of September 2025 on Monocle Radio. The Briefing, in association with Addis. Hello and welcome to The Briefing, broadcasting live from Studio One here at Midori House in London. I'm Chris Chermak. Coming up on today's program, Thailand has another new Prime Minister and is preparing for the sentencing of a former Prime Minister in Thaksin Shinawatra. James Chambers updates on another tumultuous week in Thai politics. After that,
we've just hit a record tourism number of 1.5 million visitors, but we could be doing 10 times that and with many more people employed because of it.
We spoke with the mayor of Cape Town at Monocle's Quality of Life conference in Barcelona. And then Monocle's Claudia Jacob joins the show with a France news roundup as another Prime Minister prepares to lose his job. Claudia, what have you found for us?
Thanks, Chris. We'll be looking at François Bayrou's vote of confidence and who his main opposition is, Paris Design Week and what the 15th iteration holds, and an opening for the director of Art Basel Paris as Clément de Lépine steps down.
All of that right here on The Briefing with me, Chris Chermak. And we will start today's show in Thailand because over the last 10 days, the country has seen one prime minister ousted, another former leader facing possible jail time, and a third being named the country's new prime minister. It's a dizzying number of changes, even for a country with politics as rambunctious as Thailand. And joining us now from there is James Chambers, Monocle's Asia editor in Bangkok, of course. James, good afternoon, good evening to you.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, it's a proper Thai soap opera over here.
I thought I'd prepare it, set it up that way. A little bit of a soap opera going on there, so a lot of different elements to get through. But let's start with the new Prime Minister, if we could. What kind of person is Thailand's new Prime Minister, Anutin?
Well, Anutin Charnvirakul is from a very wealthy background. He's a businessman. His family's in kind of construction and cement. They built the major airport in Bangkok. But he is the leader of a party called the Bumjai Thai Party. And they came third in the most recent elections back in 2023. So he was by no means the people's first choice for prime minister, but after the two Thai prime ministers were suspended and banned by the Supreme Court, and before that, the Move Forward Party was also banned. There's room now for him to come through the middle, and he's become Thailand's 32nd prime minister.
And the fact that this is from the third party, as you mentioned there, what does that mean in terms of how he will be accepted by the Thai public? There's a new cabinet and everything. I mean, are people happy about this?
I mean, from what I did, from my discussions with people, he doesn't seem to be particularly popular as a person individually, but his party has been on the rise. In a sense, it's kind of copying the model that Thaksin Shinawatra used so successfully to leverage the support of the country outside of Bangkok. Thaksin's power base is in the north around Chiang Mai, but the Bumjai Thai power base is in a place called Isan in the northeast, which is the largest region in Thailand, but very agricultural, very kind of overlooked. But in recent years, it's been on the up and up. So it's kind of no surprise, I guess, that a political party would emerge from that region. But I guess the main point, even in Thailand, where prime ministers have very short tenures, the last two have lasted only a year, Anutin has only got 4 months. Part of the deal that he brokered with the People's Party, who are the opposition party, formerly the Move Forward, was that one of his first things he would do would be to, dissolve parliament within 4 months and call fresh elections. So, the starting gun has already been called or shot on the next election, and there's only so much that he can do in the next 4 months. And realistically, the campaigning has already begun. He's appointed himself the Minister of Interior. That's the job he used to have when Bum Jai Thai were in the coalition with Pheu Thai. And it's seen as one of the plum jobs for kind of influencing voters, because you have a massive budget which you can deploy across the country. So this whole political mess kind of started not because of the border crisis. It started because the Pheu Thai party tried to remove Anutin from this post because they wanted it for themselves. So he went into the opposition. Now he's back. Now he's back in that post. And I can see this turning quickly from his party relying on the support of the People's Party to actually them both going into election mode. They know in about 5 months' time they're going to be fighting an election, and Pheu Thai has now been put to one side, and it's clearly going to be between the Conservative Party Bum Jai Thai and the Progressive People's Party.
4 months is not a long time in politics, but it could be a long time when it comes to foreign policy, James, because you did mention the border dispute there with Cambodia. Do we expect anything to change on that front? It's still quite a tense situation.
It is a very tense situation, and I guess there are good things to note and also potentially bad ones. I mean, the good thing is the border crisis did seem to involve the two families behind Pheu Thai party, the Thaksin Shinawatra, his family, and his old friend Hun Sen, who is the patriarch in Cambodia. They seem to have had an almighty falling out. And maybe it's not the right time to get into all of the rumors surrounding why that is, but there are some kind of convincing stories to why perhaps their 30-year friendship has come to an end, and that might be the root of this border crisis. So, I mean, the good news is Thailand has a new prime minister in Anutin, and he is not, involved in that family dispute. I mean, the bad news is he's still backed into a corner. I mean, Pheu Thai got thrown out because they compromised on Thai sovereignty. So when you think about what Anutin's strategy is looking forward to the election, he certainly doesn't have much wiggle room to be kind of, making any concessions. He is going to have to be hard when it comes to the borders and Thai sovereignty. And it's one of the two big issues that voters say they want his administration, however long it lasts, to focus on. One being the border, two being the cost of living crisis. So, there's hope. I mean, the Cambodian Prime Minister, Hun Sen's son, Hun Manet, has come out and welcomed the appointment, and Anutin said very, good things about how they look forward to working together. So it could be a fresh start, but we'll have to wait and see. As you said, it's a very sensitive issue.
Well, just finally, James, though, you did mention a couple of times in your answers, of course, Thaksin Shinawatra, one of the most famous politicians, certainly in Thailand. He left the country on Friday, has now returned again, all of this ahead of tomorrow's trial where he could face sentencing. Tell us about that.
The remarkable story of Thaksin Shinawatra just keeps going on and on. I couldn't believe it when on Friday it was very obvious that the Pheu Thai nominee for Prime Minister wasn't going to get elected. And then you see news that Thaksin's private jet is trying to take off from Don Mueang Airport in Bangkok, initially getting stopped, but then he was allowed to fly to Singapore where he was meant to be getting medical treatment, but suddenly it diverts to Dubai where he spent 15 years in kind of self-imposed exile. And you kind of think, oh, the writing's on the wall and he's gone. He's never coming back because he's got this a criminal case to answer tomorrow. And it all relates to his return 2 years ago from exile, when he didn't even spend one night in jail. He was whisked straight off to a private ward in a hospital, stayed there for 6 months, and then was let out, claiming that he was ill. And as soon as he came out, he was wearing all kinds of kind of medical equipment to show how poorly he was. But then, obviously, as soon as he was out, he was fit as a fiddle and back to interfering in politics. So, a lot of people think that he won't. He'll be lucky if he gets off tomorrow. He could end up in prison serving that 6-month sentence that should have been in prison, but he was in hospital. But we'll have to wait and see. As you said, he is back. He did go to Singapore in the end. And he did fly back to Thailand today. So he will be in court tomorrow, and we'll see what's going to happen. But as you know, we've been discussing over the last few months, this has felt like the beginning of the end of the Shinawats, a family that's dominated politics here for a few decades. And there's nothing I've seen over the last few days to suggest that, you know, he's back to make some kind of amazing comeback.
It is quite the saga. We will see what happens tomorrow. James, thanks very much for joining us. That was James Chambers, Monocle's Asia editor. And now here's Monica Lillis with the day's other news headlines.
Thanks, Chris. France's parliament is holding a vote of confidence today that is expected to oust Prime Minister François Bayrou. His removal after only 9 months would leave President Macron searching for a fifth leader in under 2 years. US President Donald Trump is threatening tougher sanctions on Russia following its biggest air assault on Ukraine since the war began. 4 people, including a mother and baby, were killed as missiles and drones struck Kyiv, hitting government offices for the first time. Norwegians are voting in a close election that could unseat the Labour government. The campaign has focused on the high cost of living and inequality, though wars in Gaza and Ukraine have also shaped debate. Just 4 million voters will decide the result. Those are the day's headlines. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks very much, Monica. Monocle's annual Quality of Life Conference was held on Friday this year in Barcelona. And among the many guests was Cape Town's mayor, Jordan Hill Lewis. Jordan spoke with Ed Stalker, who began by asking about the mayor's connection to Monocle magazine.
I've admired Monocle for a long time. You know, have picked it up when I have seen it or found it on a bookshelf. And a friend of mine, Brad, who's with me here at the conference, actually, he bought me a copy of the Monocle Guide to Building Better Cities, which was just an exceptional publication. I found it really inspiring as a mayor. And so I've been reading it ever since and really love it.
Well, we like to get mayors at our Quality of Life conference, but there was a joke that the two from last year are currently behind bars had.
Are you serious?
It's actually true.
Oh my!
True story. True story.
Jeez. I'm leaving.
Yeah, is that it? You done? No, but I mean, how do you feel like on the front line in that sense as a mayor? Do you feel
mayors are always on the front line? I mean, you know, that is actually why it's so cool to be a mayor, by the way, because you can get stuff done. I mean, most of government at the higher levels, at the national level and even at the international level, is debate, it's policy, it's pontificating. It is not rolling up your sleeves and sorting out problems. And that is what I love about city government. You just get things done. You spot a problem, you design a solution, you build a cool team of creative people, and you get it done.
People don't always go into politics for the right reasons. I may make that controversial statement. You
unbelievable.
You were 24, I think, when you entered National Assembly. And I'm interested to know what made you want to get into politics.
Look, I mean, I love it. I think I am a kind of political animal. It's in my blood. I love the cut and thrust of it. I love the adrenaline of it. I love the sense of gratification you get of getting something done. I'm what Brits pejoratively refer to as a professional politician. I knew at an early age that this is what I wanted to do. I've pursued it relentlessly and hopefully done it quite well and for the right reasons.
Good. That's what we like to hear from a politician. Tell me, what are the issues facing Cape Town? I imagine there are quite a lot of problems, like any city, like any big city. What are the most pressing things on your to-do list and how achievable are they?
So, I mean, Cape Town is rapidly growing. It's the fastest growing of South Africa's cities and one of the fastest growing on the continent. That puts tremendous pressure on a city government. You've got to run just to keep up with infrastructure, with basic services. Many of the people coming to the city are looking for a better life. They're coming from rural areas with no jobs and looking for better services, better schooling for their kids, better healthcare, the chance of hopefully getting work. And so that's pressure. It's also opportunity. I think the fact that they are choosing to come to Cape Town speaks volumes about what they think of the quality of life there, even if it means something very different to the quality of life discussion here in Europe. We are succeeding in delivering a higher standard of living for those people. Now, the second closely linked challenge is you've got to constantly roll out new services and infrastructure so that you can extend basic dignity and make sure that Cape Town's success story, this beautiful, globally attractive destination, includes everyone and that it doesn't leave people behind. So those are by far the biggest challenges, but we tackle them with glee.
Do you have the city coffers asking you a direct question?
Yeah.
to do all those things you want to do? Is there enough money in the pot?
No. I mean, the needs are enormous, gargantuan, and the resources limited. We have a small tax base in all South African cities, and the trick is to grow the local economy. The South African economy has not performed well the last decade, but the Cape Town economy is performing well. It's growing at a clip faster than the national economy, mainly driven by tourism, mainly driven by visitors. And that's a wonderful opportunity. There's now 110,000 people in the city working in the tourism economy and growing by the day. So we are big fans of growing our tourism market.
And also diversifying as well, not relying, I presume, too much on that while also wanting to grow it.
Well, the thing is, Cape Town has got this wonderful history of manufacturing, mainly linked to the maritime economy, shipbuilding and all the related industries. It has been a tourism destination always because of its incredible natural beauty. But actually, compared to a place like where we're talking from today, Barcelona, it's still relatively small tourist economy. So I think there's still lots and lots of room to grow. We've just hit a record tourism number of 1.5 million visitors, but we could be doing 10 times that and with many more people employed because of it.
I believe you've often talked about social housing, affordable housing,
Yes,
as a big sort of policy benchmark.
Yes.
What are your ambitions and how are you going to achieve it?
Well, for the international listener who may not be familiar with living conditions in developing world contexts, we have something called townships, informal structures where people live in essentially tin structures. And that is just not conducive to a healthy, successful society. So we really want to get people out of informal structures. Now, of course, that's a long-term ambition, but we have ramped up the delivery of social housing dramatically so that we can get more and more people out of informal structures. So we've delivered more social housing in the last 2 years than in the 10 years prior to that. And that is showing real success and momentum. Long way to go still.
Is that your number one priority right now?
No, I still think the number one priority has to be to grow the economy faster because that's the best way you can get
most people.
Correct. That's the best way you can get people out of poverty and into more dignified life.
The mayor of Cape Town there, Jordan Hill-Lewis, in conversation with Monocle's Ed Stalker at our Quality of Life conference in Barcelona. This is The Briefing on Monocle Radio. And finally for today's show, by the end of today, France could once again well be without a government, unless by some miracle the Prime Minister François Bayrou manages to pull through a vote of confidence that is scheduled for tonight. Well, I'm joined now for more on that and other France news by Monocle writer Claudia Jacob. Claudia, the vote is tonight. Is there any way that this still turns around?
Hi, Chris. Yeah, I mean, it seems almost impossible at this stage in the day that Bayrou will come through this unscathed. I mean, he has, quite clearly lost the support of the National Assembly. I think if there's any sort of bad omen to point to, it would be Michel Barnier's government collapsing at the end of last year, also based on a vote of no confidence after just 3 months in office. So it does sort of seem like the signs are kind of pointing only in one direction. I mean, the only way to have regained any trust prior to holding this vote would have been to sort of reassess these kind of quite strict austerity and propose budget cuts and present maybe a more palatable alternative, and of course building support from his opposition, which is really quite significant at this stage.
And that's what's so interesting about this, Claudia, isn't it? Because if you ask François Bayrou, he's doing this because he has to. He has to impose this austerity. It's the only way to get France back on track. But tell us about the opposition to that and what happens to any budget cuts if they succeed in toppling Bayrou.
Indeed, what's sort of interesting about Bayrou's really fiery opposition is that there's actually no single sort of political grouping that has sufficient seats to govern alone. But teamed up, as they do seem to have done, they can sort of pull the rug from under the government. And I think that's why his downfall is sort of seemingly so predetermined, even though there are so many groups that aren't united sort of politically. They are seemingly united against Bayrou. The three opposition parties within Bayrou's fragile minority government have vowed to vote against him. The leaders of the far-right National Rally, Jordan Bardella and Marine Le Pen, have of course been very outspoken opposition, and the same with Jean-Luc Mélenchon, who has also blamed Macron himself for France's economic
situation. But France, it is in a lot of debt. It's a long-standing problem with overspending, and a lack of ability to rein it in does seem to really have been the predecessors of Bayrou, and indeed Bayrou's ultimate downfall, as it sounds like it might be.
And then just to add on top of that, Claudia, we also have this bloquons tout movement. Block absolutely everything. That I guess that sounds kind of French.
It does a bit. It's really gathering momentum. I mean, it has sort of echoes of the Gilets jaunes protesters, although their profile actually is really different. These are made up of sort of retirees and rural workers, whereas the bloquons tout movement is largely made up of young people aged between 25 and 34. But it's a movement that began on social media, backed by the far left and the unions, and it really calls for a nationwide shutdown on the 10th of September in protest at Bayrou's austerity measures. And while the Gilets jaunes protesters were largely apolitical, supporters of this block everything movement lean heavily to the left. So we'll have to see what happens on the 10th of September. And it's worth noting as well that this will go ahead even if Bayrou does resign today.
From one striking city to another, we've got tube strikes over here in London. We've got a block everything movement about to bring France to a standstill in a couple of days. In the middle of all of that, we did also want to talk about Paris Design Week, Claudia.
What's a bit lighter, maybe.
a little bit lighter. I don't know how people will get around on Wednesday when everything is blocked. But before that, how is Paris Design Week going?
Yeah, so it's already been up and running for a couple of days. This is the 15th iteration of this real sort of celebration of the best in global design. And I think Paris Design Week really inaugurates the autumnal design calendar. There are 375 locations participating, and there's a real buzz about Paris and all of the many iconic institutions that will participate in it.
Including, as I understand, Monocle's own cafe in Paris is participating this year for the first time, which is itself quite exciting.
Yeah, if you head over to our cafe on Rue Bouchemont, we're doing a sort of collaboration with furniture designer Tiptoe until the 30th of September. So yeah, it's nice to see us sort of participating in this real festivity of global design.
So do check out for that. And one thing finally as well, Claudia, that we wanted to discuss. If you happen to be an art director, there might be an opening for you at the moment at Art Basel Paris.
That's right. Clément Delépine has stepped down from his position, which he assumed in 2022. He sort of has been directing the show actually since its inception. It's had 3 years now. The fourth one is just coming up. And he will step down after that one in November. And so I guess he's really seen the show through its formative years, which is nice. You know, he sort of saw the fair as it moved into the Grand Palais, which was newly renovated, taking away the dates of the long-standing French fair, FIAC. And he moves on to the non-profit arts foundation Lafayette Anticipations, which is sort of associated with the French retail giant Galeries Lafayette.
Do you have any sense of what might come for Art Basel Paris now? Whoever takes charge next, will they kind of keep the same traditions going? Has Art Basel Paris established itself now there?
Yeah, it seems unclear who might take this position. There's going to be a bit of a waiting point as we have a look. But I think what's been interesting with Delépine is that he was appointed director of the fair at a really key time for commercial art in Paris. You know, renewed traction largely as a result of Brexit, which maybe took some of the spotlight off London and onto Paris. And he's really allowed the fair to flourish. You know, this fair that started, you know, in the Swiss town of Basel and has really grown since then, and has proved actually that Paris's sort of arts prowess is, you know, there's a long heritage of it, a long-standing heritage which is celebrated in its many galleries and museums and design atelier, but actually its design identity continues to evolve and doesn't ever stand still.
Well, Claudia, we'll let you go on that, though. I do wonder, are you going to be watching tonight the vote of confidence? Should there be like no confidence vote watch parties?
We shall see. It's going to be an interesting time for France.
Claudia Jacob, thank you very much for joining us. And that's all the time we have for this edition of The Briefing. It was produced by Laura Kramer and Ryuma Takahashi. Our studio manager was Mariella Bevan. The Briefing is back tomorrow at the same time. I'm Chris Chermak. Goodbye, and thanks for listening.